I've always liked movie posters that blend multiple images together. This is a really neat example here. So I wanted to show you how you could just take two photographs and blend them together really easily. So I'm going to start with a a picture in Photoshop here. I took this on my whiteboard in my classroom. You could also use a solid color wall or maybe your projection screen. Try to get some nice bright even light. Don't use a flash on your camera because you're going to get a hard shadow on the background and make this much more difficult to work with. The first thing would be to do is to select this and mask myself off. So I'm going to come up here to the quick selection tool, and you can use your bracket keys to make it bigger or smaller. And I'm going to just click and drag across this side and then click and drag across that side, and I have a little spot down here I'm going to click and drag. Just make sure that your brush doesn't go onto the body. Now mine was pretty easy because it was well lit. Yours might be a slightly more difficult. The next thing I usually do is go up here to Refine Edge, and there's a bunch of different views. You might be seeing a different look to it. In this case, black on white is going to work well. White on white would be very difficult to see. Alright, I usually bump up, actually just check the Smart Radius, usually feather it just a little depending on the resolution of your camera. You don't want to go too far. It's going to start looking kind of ghosty, so I'm just going to go up to about 2-3 pixels on this image, and you can smooth out the edge if you want to. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Alright, at this point, if I hit the mask button over here on the layers panel, it's going to mask me out and keep the white, and I want the opposite. That's not a big deal. There's two ways to solve this solution, or the problem. I'm sorry, there's a solution to this problem. You can go up to the properties and simply inverse your mask, or I'm going to go ahead and undo that a couple times. There we go. Or you could inverse the selection first. So go up to the select menu and inverse, and then add your mask. So there's two ways to do it, but the idea is we just want to get you or your subject on its own layer with a mask around it. Alright, now that we've done that, let's go ahead and grab another image. I had an image of me snowboarding across a little pond in the summer. I'm going to drag and drop that on here from my folder. And I'm going to stretch this out. I'm going to hold Shift down, and I'm going to hold Alt down because I want to stretch it way out. I want to make that really big. If you see it kind of being blurry, don't worry about it. When you hit the check mark, it'll clean it up a little. And don't freak out, we're going to be able to see me behind there in just a little while. And in fact, if we just want to start playing around, we can click on the normal mode up here. This is the blend modes, and maybe go to like overlay and you see me behind there. Okay, I don't want to see anything outside of my body though. So a quick and easy way to do that. We've already made that selection earlier when we made the mask, and the selection is right here in the mask. So if you hold Control down and click on the thumbnail of the mask, it's going to make a selection right around me. And now with the snowboard layer selected, I can mask that again. So I'm going to come down here and use the mask button, and now that background is gone. Excellent. And now we just see me with the image kind of overlaid over the top of it. Now this is where each image is going to be different. You and your background image you can play around with. I'm going to go ahead and go to overlay here. Just click on the word overlay, hold Shift down and use my arrow keys, and that just lets me kind of cycle through all the different blend modes. And you can just kind of keep playing around until you find the one you want. And then I think I kind of like this. This looks neat, but I don't like what it's doing to the face here. So what I might do is get rid of the blend mode over the face. So I'm going to, with my mask selected on this snowboard layer, grab my black paintbrush. I'm going to paint on the mask. Make sure that my color is black down here. I've made my brush fairly large. Remember to change your brush size, you use the bracket keys. It's nice and soft, and you can change your brush up here as well. You can choose a soft brush. You can also change the hardness or softness right here. I've got a 100% or 0% hardness and a pretty big brush. I'm just going to start painting black onto my face. And as you can see, I'm hiding that stuff, that mountain stuff right there. And neat. All right. And I think this might kind of look neat if I did some adjustment layers. So play around, get creative at this point. Um, Maybe you'll do a hue and saturation layer and desaturate everything, or play around with the lightness or the contrast or something like that. Um, Maybe I'll change tint it, I'll colorize it. You just get creative, have some fun with this. Another one might be kind of fun is a threshold. Just black and white. And you can play around with these different settings here and just have some fun with the different things that you can do. I'm going to go ahead and throw that one away. I kind of like this tinted image. You may need to crop your image if you got a little too much on one side or another. You can go ahead and crop it. And then if you save it for sharing with people, let's say I save this as a JPEG, you're going to, the transparent area is going to become white. So if you want to keep the transparency for some reason, maybe you're going to put it on a website, save it as a GIF. Otherwise, just save it as a JPEG. I'll go ahead. Well, I'd save it as a Photoshop as well. Example. That way you can continue to work with it. This photo, as long as it's a Photoshop, you'll still have all these layers and be able to continue to tweak it, change the colors for different things. When you save it as a JPEG, that's good for sharing and turning in. I'll go ahead and save it as a JPEG, and that way I could turn it into my class. I better change this. Example 2.